All right, today is only about goals. I referenced this exact thing that I'm going to talk about in the previous video about celebration. And I said, hey, just remember, goals are not goals if they count on somebody else. That's what today is about. And we're drinking Balvenie because I really love Balvenie. This is one of my go-to whiskeys. Anytime I'm out in the wild and I can't find, like, well, if you have a small whiskey selection in a bar, the odds they have Balvenie is really high, and I tend to default to it because it's always a crowd pleaser. It's always great. I'm Daniel Whittington. I'm the Chancellor of Wizard Academy and Whiskey Marketing School. If what you are trying to accomplish requires someone else taking action, it is not a goal, it's a hope. That's really the end of the video. Thanks. Too often in companies and leadership positions and in training, you find, or even like personal growth discussions, you find that a significant amount of people who are talking about the goals they have, when you're like, what's your goal? It's always something that's either nebulous, which means it has no real defining characteristics, or it's definitely something that's not totally up to them. Like, for example, I want to be rich. Well, actually not totally up to you. Sometimes I know a lot of really shockingly smart and talented people who burned their butts just working to the ground and are still barely eking by. And I know other people who just stumbled into a kind of an interesting idea at the right place, right time, and now are filthy rich, right? There's so much that goes on behind getting a lot of money that has nothing to do with hard work and you. And the depressing thing about so much of the internet world right now is you find people who just stumbled ass backwards into a lucky, successful financial situation, and then they rewrite their whole history on, let me show how you too can be rich and successful. It's like, so bullshit. Or how about, I want to be influential. Well, you don't get to choose that. Again, it's not up to you. And by the way, also nebulous doesn't really mean anything. Other people get to decide whether or not they're going to follow and listen to you, not you, right? I want to be successful. Sure, what does that mean? I want to get married. Guess what? That really depends on another person being agreeable to that situation, at least in this country. Oh, that got real dark all of a sudden. Okay. Things, I'm going to get even more specific, things that infuriate me. We want to see a 20% increase in customer growth. Oh, you just said the word customers. That means other people. That's not a goal. That's a hope. It's not totally up to you. There are a lot of things you can do that will contribute to the possible growth of your customer base next year, but there's nothing you can do to guarantee that people will decide to become your customer. You can just pave the way and make it easy and make it enticing and attractive, but those are all, the yin side of the draw of things. And so I hate when I see my friends stuck in these companies when my boss says I have to increase my, blah, blah, blah customer accounts by 40% this year. I don't meet my metrics. It's like, well, man, that's not really up to you. I'm sorry you're stuck in that position. Those are hopes, dreams, and aspirations, but they're not goals. Goals have two things, many things. Goals have many things, but two of them are really important. One, highly measurable. Two, entirely dependent on your own actions. Now, I want to get married meets one of those things. Very specific, but not entirely dependent on only your actions. I want to be influential is neither of those things. It's not specific or entirely dependent on your own actions. Now, I am not saying forget hopes and dreams. And I'm not saying that it's not a healthy thing for a company to say, we want to have 20% more customers next year. That's a very fair, reasonable hope. Hope is the important word, right? And it's important to have hopes and dreams. Without them, the people perish, right? But it's not a goal. Stop using the word goal when you mean hopes and dreams. But I'm going to talk about some things. To finish this up, let's talk about Balvenie. What do you say about Balvenie as like one of the cornerstone, sort of like basic, fundamental, fabric level pieces of the Scotch whiskey industry? I mean, they are bedrock. You can't imagine a world without Balvenie. It makes no sense. They effectively invented cask finishing for Scotland, or the way that the world now knows it. That was pretty much theirs. And by theirs, I mean that was David Stewart, who's just celebrated, 60 years in the whiskey industry? Holy cow. So, 1893, William Grant begins production of Balvenie. Established in 1892, that's what it says on the bottle, but production kicks in and they start actually making things. And they just sort of plug along. There's sale, there's closure, they're bought. Then 1983 is when they first start doing cask finishing, and David Stewart sort of two successive types of wood, American oak, then sherry cask, or sherry cask, then American oak. And that really launches, I mean, I guess, could you say innovation? It was, I think, an industry innovation. And it was definitely forward thinking. Now we live in a world where that's just 80% of the whiskey on the planet is talking about cask finishing, including in America. But they were the first to go, hey, we're going to do this thing to prioritize adjusting the flavor profiles for a final product that we believe in and love, instead of just taking a barrel and going, well, this is what we got, let's mix it together. And I mean, not that everybody else was doing that, but you see what I mean. Hyperbole is a thing, guys. But what I love about this is Balvenie is a sherry cask whiskey that is not, sometimes you're in the mood for a sherry cask that's just like, screw you, sherry cask, and it's like Glendronach and Aberlour, and right? These ones that are just fainty and funky and like, oh. And sometimes you want a delicate sherry hint, but you also still want some of that American oak, vanillin, and barrel tannin. And Balvenie threads that needle better than most Speyside scotches, I think. I think they're the gold standard for how to thread, including both of those in really interesting flavor profiles, and especially in the 12. There are a lot of other great Balvenies, and there are a lot of great age statement Balvenies, and they all taste delicious. I come back every single time to the 12-year-old Doublewood being by far my favorite expression of Balvenie, because it's got the vivacious kind of malty still, but it's also got the age and the tannin, and it's also got the vanillin, and it's also got a hint of the fruit that sherry brings. It's just a damn near perfectly balanced scotch. I always like the nose more than I like the palate, but the palate, it does have this starts sort of thin and then sort of rounds out into a dry berries and cream with a little bit of like vanilla cream. The nose to me is where all the fall leaves and overturned earth mixed with dark fruit and an almost vanilla pastry. I like this. I need to trim my mustache because I'm collecting whiskey in my mustache now. Okay. Yeah, I mean, what do you say about Balvenie that hadn't been said a million times? It's just a great damn whiskey. And I always look forward to drinking it. And I gotta say, the part of my lizard brain that is drawn to shapes and pretty things, I think this is probably the best whiskey bottle shape. Period. I think this right here, the Balvenie bottle, is my favorite, bar none, favorite shape for a whiskey bottle. It feels like the kind of bottle that should hold whiskey. It just does. I freaking love it. And it looks like a pot still. All right, moving So remember we said, I want a promotion. That's a hope. Guess what it's dependent on? Your boss. So that's a hope. But I want to improve my own knowledge, my own skill set, and make myself invaluable to this company. That's a goal, right? To learn more, to accomplish more, to be able to do more, to have a better understanding of your company, to know what makes all the moving parts move. That's going to make you damn near irreplaceable in a company. And you know what that'll lead to? Probably promotions, right? I want to get married is a hope. Highly dependent on another human being. But I'm going to spend the time working on the hard things and improving myself to be the kind of person that is ready to get married and ready to enter into a partnership with another human being. That's a goal. That's real. That's something you can control. And the more you do that, the more likely you are for somebody else to see that in you and to see that effort and to see that. That's how that works. I love goals. I'm a goal person. I like having measurable progress to an end result, and I like to check boxes off on my way. I'm that kind of a person. I just am. So I am always going to lean towards, I think it's a good idea to have goals. Incremental progress in pursuit of a goal has a lot to do with a healthy self-esteem and a sense of accomplishment and well-being. When you can look back and you can see your incremental progress, like you're hiking up the mountain and look back and go, holy crap, it doesn't feel like I'm getting anywhere, but look how far we've hiked, right? That's powerful. And so you're far less likely to fall into depression or a sense of hopelessness or feel stuck if you have created highly measurable, implementable goals in your world and then kept track of your progress on them. It's an antidote to those kinds of things in your life. And the most magical thing is this. All of the most interesting things that have happened to me have always been nowhere on my list of goals. But I always found them while I was in pursuit of a goal. Always. And that's why it's important to make goals, try to achieve them, but to also leave room for unexpected magic. Cheers to you. I'm really glad you're here. You know what would be unexpectedly magical for me is if you liked and subscribed. It's a thing.